Most AI coding agents are running inside tools that were never designed for them. They're wedged into VS Code extensions, shoved into chat sidebars, fighting with GUIs that assume a human is clicking around. And then someone built this. Tmux-IDE is an open-source terminal IDE built from the ground up for AI agents. Not for you to use with an agent. For the agent itself to use. And once you see how it works, it's hard to go back to thinking the other way makes sense. Here's what's actually happening. When you launch Tmux-IDE, you get a Tmux session with a structured, predictable workspace. Multiple panes, each with a specific role. One pane runs the agent. Another runs your shell. Another shows file output or test results. The agent knows exactly where it is, what each pane does, and how to interact with the workspace without any GUI scaffolding. That matters more than it sounds. Current AI coding agents, Claude, GPT-4o, whatever you're using, they work through tool calls. Read file, write file, run command. But when those tools are bolted onto a visual editor, there's friction. The agent can't see what's actually running. It can't watch a test fail in real time. It can't hold context across a multi-step task without losing the thread. Tmux-IDE solves that with something almost embarrassingly simple, a proper terminal workspace with defined panes, persistent sessions, and direct shell access. The agent gets a real environment, not a simulation of one. Let's talk about what that looks like in practice. You give the agent a task. Something like, refactor this module, add tests, make sure they pass. The agent starts working in its dedicated pane. It writes code. It runs the test suite in the shell pane. It reads the output. It catches the failure. It fixes it. All in one coherent session, without you babysitting each step. What surprised me was how much of this relies on Tmux specifically. Tmux gives you persistent sessions that survive disconnects. It gives you named windows and panes that an agent can reference by ID. It gives you the ability to send keystrokes and commands programmatically. It's basically the perfect substrate for agentic workflows, and almost nobody was using it that way. But here's the thing, this is not a finished product yet. And it's important to be honest about what Tmux-IDE does not do. It doesn't have a plug-in ecosystem. If you're used to VS Code's extensions for linting, formatting, language servers, none of that comes pre-packaged here. You can set up your own tooling, but you're configuring it manually. This is a workflow for developers who are comfortable in the terminal and want a lean, agent-native environment, not a batteries-included IDE. It also doesn't have a GUI. That sounds obvious, but it means no visual diff viewer, no integrated debugger with breakpoints you can click, no file explorer with drag and drop. If those are non-negotiable for you, Tmux-IDE isn't your daily driver. At least not yet. And right now, the agent integration is flexible but not pre-wired. You're not going to install this and have Claude magically appear in a pane. You need to wire up your own agent, point it at the workspace, define how it communicates with the shell. For experienced developers, that's a feature. For everyone else, that's a barrier. So where does this go from here? The plausible near future for Tmux-IDE is in automated engineering pipelines. Think CI-adjacent workflows where an agent doesn't just run tests, it interprets failures, proposes fixes, opens a PR. All inside a Tmux session that a human can attach to at any point to inspect or override. There's also a real case for multi-agent setups. Tmux natively supports multiple windows and sessions. You could run a planner agent in one window, an executor agent in another, and a reviewer agent watching output in a third. That kind of parallel agentic architecture is genuinely hard to build in a traditional IDE. In Tmux, it's almost natural. If projects like this get traction, we might also see standardized agent workspace specs, a shared definition of what a well-structured terminal environment looks like so any agent can drop in and know where it is. Tmux-IDE could be an early reference implementation for that. So why does this exist? Because the tools we have were designed for humans. That's not a criticism, it's just a fact. Visual editors, graphical debuggers, point-and-click interfaces. All of it optimized for a person sitting in front of a screen. But AI coding agents aren't people. They don't need a mouse. They don't need icons. They need reliable, structured, programmatic access to a development environment. And the terminal, specifically Tmux, is the closest thing we already have to that. Thijsvarek built Tmux-IDE because the gap was obvious once you saw it. Agents are being forced to use tools designed for a completely different kind of user. The result is brittle, context-lossy workflows that break in ways that are hard to debug. A purpose-built agent workspace doesn't fix every problem. But it removes a whole category of friction that nobody was talking about. If you're building with AI coding agents right now or thinking about how to deploy them in production, check the link to Tmux-IDE in the description. The project is open source and actively developed. Next episode, we're looking at a tool that takes a completely different approach, giving AI agents a sandboxed browser instead of a terminal. Same problem, opposite solution. Subscribe so you don't miss it.